People are really hot when they're coming in, they're leaking sweat.
Never heard of someone leaking sweat before, but that's how hot it must have been yesterday. And temperatures are going back into the 90s today. Upper 90s, maybe 100 degrees in some spots. Third day in the row of extreme heat. Coming up here at 7 o'clock, we're going to talk about a program that's providing free AC units to local people, how you may be able to get one. Plus,
very tough decision for the Coast Guard to make to suspend. It's never an easy thing for us.
The search for a missing fisherman suspended after a boat carrying him and 3 others capsized in Newport.
Plus, how this local young scientist is fighting fast fashion with seaweed. It's a really good story coming up here in the 7 o'clock hour of Sunrise.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us live on your Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I'm China Green.
And I'm Drew Carney. If it was up to you, China Green, would you keep this hot weather rolling?
Yes.
She does love herself some 90-degree temperatures, but Rod, as you've been talking about all morning, this is the final day of what has been a 3-day, can we call it a heat wave?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think if we polled everybody, the consensus would be folks would be happy to get back to normal, which will be low to mid 80s tomorrow, and then below normal into the 70s by Thursday. Now, the coast, this is your cool-off day. Here's Chinook Winds Casino Resort in Lincoln City. It's cloudy up and down much of the beach. Generally speaking, areas will clear out and get some sun, but the warmest temps at the beach today will be low 70s. Astoria, for example, has been up into the 80s last couple days. That is gone. And you see the fog in Lincoln City. Some of the modeling shows you could drop south down to Newport and Uquinta Bay. Could be kind of foggy all day today. Here's the Salem state capitol, of course, live, 66 degrees. We are clear inland, and we are warming up. The bricks will be getting toasty again today. Pioneer Park building, live view, 69 degrees is the number currently out at PDX. So here we go. We have the KGW weather impact alert for the hot weather for one more final day. 85 at noon. That will equal yesterday's lunch temperature. We've been 99 out of PDX the last 2 days. Today I stop us at 98. Obviously, if that's true, you won't notice a difference. That is your forecast. Here's Chris.
Rod, thanks for that. Let's take you down to Wilsonville. I-5 traffic really starting to build here northbound over the Boone Bridge. There's nothing that unusual about this, but it is pretty slow. I'll step out of the way. You can see we're puttering along at about 20 miles an hour to get you from Charbonneau north up to Wilsonville Road. Quick check over on the east side. This is Interstate 84. This is 82nd right here. 84, the Banfield down below. That westbound commute tightening up a bit now. Your drive in from Troutdale is up to 21 minutes at last check. As we take you up to Clark County, the I-5 southbound commute also puttering along right on schedule, about 16 miles an hour, get you down to the Interstate Bridge. Main Street down to the Fremont, about 16 minutes at last check. Drew, China?
Thank you, Chris. Portland program is helping people stay cool with free AC units.
Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz is covering this story for us live this morning in Northwest Portland. So let's say that again out loud, Thomas. We're talking about free AC units.
Yeah, you can't really ask for anything better than a free AC unit, or really anything free, but on a day like today, after the past 2, that's probably the best thing you could possibly ask for here in Portland. And this comes after years, we all know, of many people here in Portland having to struggle through that hot heat without an AC unit. This all comes because of a new city program hoping to add more than 15,000 units all across the city. Some residents right behind us at a Northwest Portland apartment complex are already taking the city up on their offer. You can see here in this video a good number of those low-income units now have air conditioners sticking out their windows. The program was the city's response to the heat dome back in 2021. 72 people died from heat-related deaths in that heat dome in Multnomah County alone. 94% of them actually died in their homes. One lived in this Northwest Tower apartments right behind us. Yesterday we spoke to a resident here who says she learned about the free air conditioners this spring. She says installation was easy.
There's a sign up on the wall that said dial, I think 311, and I did, and it came within a week, and they installed it for me, and it was a piece of cake.
You heard her there, piece of cake. Now, just around the corner from this apartment building is one of Multnomah County's cooling centers, one of the 3 that were opened yesterday. Program managers for the cooling center tell us that 26 people stopped by, and they had water. They had, of course, air conditioning there to help people beat this heat.
We also have a couple mats in there for folks to lay down and get some rest, but people are hot and exhausted and drained, so they're really grateful to have this space.
Yeah, not only grateful to have this space, but hopeful that that space will once again be open today. That's something we're expecting to learn more about later this morning. Now, going back to those air conditioners for a minute, if you don't have them and you are interested in getting them, it's a pretty easy process. All you got to do is call 311 to see if you qualify for that free AC. If you do, they're doing sign-ups and installations year-round, guys. So really, no reason to wait around. Just go ahead and fill out that paperwork. Drew, China.
Thomas, thank you. And by the way, if you text the word HEAT to the number there on your screen, 503-226-5088, we'll text you back with a link to information on cooling centers, splash pads, and other local resources to help escape the heat.
In other news this morning, the search for a missing fisherman is suspended along the Oregon coast. He was on a boat that capsized near Newport Sunday afternoon.
The Coast Guard was able to rescue 3 other people that were on board. KGW's Alma McCarty has more on their search efforts.
After a long evening and early morning on the ocean, slightly south of Newport, rescuers called off the mission to find the final crew member of a sunken fishing vessel.
Very tough decision for the Coast Guard to make to suspend. It's never an easy thing for us. It's, it weighs heavily upon, especially the members that are there.
Petty Officer Steve Strohmeyer with the U.S. Coast Guard explains where the 40-foot vessel Das Bug took on water and sank.
This did not happen right in between the jetties or what we call the bar. That's one of the more dangerous areas when that, tide and the ocean and the river are all meeting up at one time, and it can cause hazardous issues. But this was a little bit offshore, a little bit south of that area, but the ocean's just dangerous at any point.
Although the Coast Guard was able to rescue 3 fishermen within a half hour, a 4th person is still missing, unaccounted for after the boat capsized.
The bottom was facing up, and they didn't have life jackets on at the time. So obviously one of the biggest things is that they wanted to get to something that was going to keep them safe. So they were able to swim over to the hull.
Crews got the 3 fishermen to the hospital where they were treated for hypothermia.
And this was just a tragic incident on a beautiful summer day. So, send our deepest condolences to the family and the friends of this individual that's missing.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
A homicide investigation is underway after one person was found dead following a shooting at a motel in North Portland. Just before 8 o'clock last night, officers were called to do a welfare check at the Super Value Inn on North Interstate Avenue. When they got there, they found a man dead from a gunshot wound. Police say the suspects left before officers got there.
The Washington County Sheriff's Office started its own homicide investigation after body parts were found in the Tualatin River. They say a kayaker found a body part last Friday near Rood Bridge Park in Hillsborough. Then the next day, searchers found another body part.
From the level of decomposition that we've seen on the body parts that we have found, it does seem like this is a more recent incident, but we haven't been able to determine how long it's been.
Investigators also say they don't believe there's any ongoing threat to the public.
The man accused of murdering 4 Oregon women has pleaded not guilty to his new charges. Jesse Calhoun's plea comes after a grand jury indicted him in connection with the death of 22-year-old Kristen Smith. Smith was reported missing in December 2022. Her remains were found in a field in southeast Portland in February of the following year. Calhoun faces a total of 4 counts of second-degree murder and 4 counts of abuse of a corpse. His trial is set for 2027.
A Multnomah County judge granted bail to a Gresham police officer accused of dozens of sex crimes with a teenage girl more than a decade ago. Hector Carranza faces 56 charges. Prosecutors say the abuse started when the victim was just 14, and it continued even after Carranza learned how old she was. Investigators say they found over 11,000 messages on social media between these two, with Carranza repeatedly asking for sexual photos of both the victim and her friends. Investigators say an anonymous tip to the FBI led them to the case. Carranza is currently on leave from the Gresham Police Department. His bail is set at $250,000. Law enforcement, meanwhile, in L.A. found the black BMW believed to be driven by the suspect in a double stabbing in Longview. You see Alexander Rogers right there. He's wanted in connection with the murder of Dawn Peters and attempted murder of Andrew Peters at this home last Tuesday. Investigators say video evidence suggests he's still in the Los Angeles area, so Longview police are going to go there to help continue the search for Rogers, who they describe as armed and dangerous.
This was a scene yesterday afternoon after fire officials were called to a South Ridge Road in Beaver Creek after getting reports of a possible generator explosion. When crews got there, they found a barn engulfed in flames. While crews were battling this fire, the grass nearby also caught fire. That was quickly put out by the barn ultimately collapsed. No one was injured and the cause is under investigation.
All right, top story again this morning, our third straight weather impact alert day because temperatures again going to climb into those upper 90s. Maybe even, Rod, you said it's not out of the question that some spots will hit 100 again.
Yeah, very little change today. On paper, most of us should be a degree or two cooler than yesterday. I mean, will you notice if it's 99 instead of 101 or 98 instead of 100? Probably not. The extreme heat warning from the Weather Service continues from about Cottage Grove north through Eugene, Salem, Portland, Clark County. It stops in Clark County because up in Cowlitz County, where you see the orange color, you've been no hotter than the mid-90s. That's a heat advisory for you folks. But the threat of 100-degree weather continues with the extreme heat warning in the Gorge and also in Central Oregon. And the lighter color in this map, if you look carefully over in Central Oregon, does have a red flag warning now for high fire danger, which makes sense. Very hot, very dry. Wouldn't take much for a spark to get out of control. So keep that in mind, especially if you're working outdoors in a grassy field, for example. All right, I've been showing you the Lincoln City camera from our Schnickwins Casino Resort location where it's been foggy, but this camera shows the fog is gone. It's shallow around Tillamookad. There's Seaside. This is Gerhardt by the Sea Resort up in Gerhardt, obviously, looking down toward Tillamookad. You folks have been up around 80 degrees the last couple days. You're expected to hold in the low 70s or no warmer than about 74 this afternoon. In Portland, we have clear skies inland. Current number 69 degrees. Another pretty warm start by our climate number. 65 in Forest Grove right now. Battleground, the cool spot, 61. West Lynn, 69. Estacada, 64. Albany, good morning. You are at 64 degrees. Again, everybody is clear. It looks like 82 at 11, 85 at noon today would equal where we were yesterday at noon. This has us 91 degrees at 2 o'clock, and then we'll be probably mid-90s or 94 at least by 3, and temperatures expected to be anywhere from at least 96 to 97, 98 in Portland today. This shows 96 at 5 o'clock, 97 in Salem at 5 o'clock. You folks in Salem might stay shy of 100. You've been 101, 102 the last 2 days. There's 101 degrees showing up out in the Dalles. So the final day in red of our KGW weather impact alert and the heat warning, 98 degrees. Tomorrow, all the way down to 83. Thursday, all the way down to 75, morning clouds. Friday and Saturday, only about 70 with raindrops in the area. And by the way, this is likely measurable rainfall at this point on Friday and Saturday. And here is Chris McGinnis.
Seeing my lawn? It needs it. I don't know if that'll be enough to bring it back, but in any event, let's get you over to Oregon City. Southbound I-205 rolling down towards 99E and the Abernathy Bridge. Traffic puttering along there. Not that that's all that unusual. 23 miles an hour is what our speed sensors show there. We'll hop over to Wilsonville. This actually looks better than it did a few minutes ago. That said, northbound traffic around 15 to 20 miles an hour up past Wilsonville Road. There's the live look right now, and that extends back over the Boone Bridge into the Charbonneau areas. So that's a normal pinch point for our morning commute. 20 minutes, though, once you get north of there from Wilsonville Road into downtown. That looks pretty good. A reminder, in Hillsborough, First Avenue closed near the railroad crossing, the Portland and Western Railroad. They're doing some significant repair work to that crossing, and that is a full round-the-clock closure. There's a good 5,000 to 10,000 cars and trucks that use that area every day, your detour. TV Highway, Minter Bridge Road to Grable Road. Again, that is a full closure round the clock through the day on Friday. Drew?
All right, Chris. Told our audience earlier, we got a pretty good story coming up here on the Sunrise Show. It's about this young woman, a young scientist in Beaverton, how she's using seaweed to fight fast fashion. We're going to meet this finalist for America's Top Young Scientist when Sunrise continues after this.
KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
Is that your laughter in the background there, China, for that school
Yep.
supply drive open?
Yep.
China Green's laughter there. We're getting excited about the continuation of our KGW school supply drive. We have a few weeks to go here. We'll run this through the month of August, but this is a great week to help out. But you can donate right at the check stand of local Safeway and Albertson stores. All donations made at those stores, by the way, will stay in those communities supporting neighborhood school districts. Also this week, thank you, Rick's Custom Fencing. Rick's is stepping up, matching the first $5,000 donated to the drive this week. So again, we thank Rick's and Safeway and our longtime partners at On Point Community Credit Union for getting behind this year's KGW School Supply Drive.
A Beaverton teenager has been named a finalist for America's Top Young Scientist. For the last year, 14-year-old Isha Marla has been working on finding an alternative to fast fashion. That's the making of mass-produced clothing that ends up in landfills. So Marla has come up with a way to make clothing out of material found in seaweed. She creates her eco-friendly fabric inside her parents' kitchen.
We have our alginate, and that's where kind of the seaweed part comes in. So, as we know, seaweed is really gel-like, slippery, and smooth on the outside. And that's really what we want in our fabrics.
By the way, clothing made out of seaweed would be completely biodegradable. Marla is one of 10 finalists for the $25,000 prize set to be awarded in October.
I just needed to hear like 12 seconds of that young woman talking, right? Like a 12-second soundbite to realize some humans are just created differently than others.
You mean some people are just smarter than you?
Yeah. Yes. I was kind of thinking of us as a collective unit. But okay, if you want to boil it down to just me, yes, she's smarter than me.
No, I'm with you, Drew.
Way smarter than me.
Drew, myself, then China, then that young lady. By the way, I haven't mentioned this much. The Perseid meteor showers, the peak is still continuing for viewing tonight and tomorrow night. Skies will be clear. The experts say if you're in perfect darkness and a good viewing spot, 60 to 100 an hour, meteors could be seen. So don't forget about that. All right. Big story we've been covering, of course, continues to be this is day 3 of our extreme heat warning from the Weather Service. First 3-day heat episode of the season, meaning first time we've hit 90 or better, 90 or better, 90 or better 3 days in a row. Salem 102 yesterday after being 101 on Sunday. McMinnville 101 yesterday. Troutdale, second day in a row, you've hit 100. PDX, second day in a row, we topped out at 99. Hillsboro 98. Astoria was 82 on Sunday, 83 yesterday. You folks will be cooler today. Only low 70s or 74 degrees at most expected in Astoria. So Salem has been the hot spot in the valley overall with that 102 degree temperature. Today's numbers will be similar to yesterday, not hotter, either the same or 1 to 2 degrees cooler on average here in the Willamette Valley and up through Clark County. Pretty shot of the early morning sprinklers hitting the golf course there up at Three Rivers Golf Course in Kelso. That's the one, if you don't know, owned by the Elks, so it's super cool. They basically use this golf course to fund their service projects during the year. The Elks Lodge up there, so that's super. Here's the Reserve Vineyards and Golf Club out in Aloha. Beautiful golf course, one of the best in the area, of course. 69 degrees is the temperature out there in Aloha this morning. If you are going to be outdoors, you know, we're 85 at noon today. So anything after that, of course, it's becoming increasingly hot. From 3 o'clock on, relative humidity factors have been running at about 25%. The heat index is actually 2 degrees cooler than what the air temperature is. Now, if you're new to our area, that sounds great, but 25% is about as high of a humidity as we would ever have in our area for temperatures approaching 100. Often in these situations, we get an east wind. That's what gives us the desert dry humidity factors that can be in the single digits. So if you're thinking, well, it's been kind of sticky if you're local, yeah, it's about as sticky as we get in these hot episodes. 62 in Kelso, these are current numbers. We just saw the Three Rivers Golf Course up there. Portland 69, Salem 66. 50s at the coast. It's foggy down in Depot Bay, Lincoln City, and Newport this morning. Futurecast shows some fog maybe holding on down around Lincoln County today. Here's early cloudiness inland in spots tomorrow and cloudy tomorrow morning at the beach. Tomorrow's the cool-off day. Here's cloudiness Thursday morning. We cool off even further. Here's rain arriving Thursday night, and then we have the measurable rain expected on Friday and Saturday. All I want you to get from this map is that these numbers mean forecast models love some measurable rainfall on Friday and on Saturday here on the west side of our state. 99 in Salem today, perhaps holding shy of 100. 98 in Battleground, 94 up in Longview. Portland 98, final day of our KGW weather impact alert and the extreme heat warning from the Weather Service. We go 83 tomorrow, 75 Thursday, rain at times on Friday and Saturday. Sunday right now for your weekend does look to be dry. Here's Chris McGinnis.
Rod, thank you for that. Heads up for the 11,000 of you or so that use the Vista Bridge, Southwest Vista Bridge in Southwest Portland. PBOT once again doing maintenance on that all day today and through Friday. So that closure is supposedly kicking in already this morning. So just be aware, there's a detour set up for you. That'll have some impact for you folks going up and down out of the West Hills through Southwest Portland. All right, let's get you back over to the east side. Actually, this is a quick snapshot near Oregon City, I-205, a little thick over the Abernathy Bridge. The northbound I-5 drive from the Boone Bridge up to Wilsonville Road, that, of course, is a little slow as well. That slowing actually extends down towards Arndt Road right now. So as you work your way north out of Marion County from Woodburn up to the Donald Aurora area, you really start to hit the brakes then heading into Wilsonville. That said, the drive from Wilsonville is not bad. North of there, it's 20 minutes to get you in to the Markham Bridge. We'll be right back.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
In national headlines this morning, President Trump declared a public safety emergency and is set to deploy 800 National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. in an effort to fight crime there. NBC's Alice Barr brings us more from the nation's capital.
Because you're being safe.
Following an unprecedented order from President Trump, hundreds of National Guard troops are expected on the streets of Washington, D.C., beginning today, according to a White House official, to crack down on crime.
We're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia.
The president deploying the Guard and taking federal control over the D.C. Police Department for up to 30 days without congressional approval, citing violent crimes like a recent attack on a former DOJ employee during an attempted carjacking.
Historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
But the move comes when the U.S. Attorney's Office said in January that violent crime in D.C. was at a 30-year low, Metro Police noting a 26% drop since last year. Though the head of the police union says that's not the feeling on the ground, arguing crime stats have been manipulated and calling any talk of a recent drop in crime preposterous. Protesters speaking out, pointing to President Trump's recent move to send thousands of National Guard troops to Los Angeles this summer to tamp down on immigration protests, and his comments that federal intervention in other cities like New York and Chicago could be next.
Trump does not care about D.C.'s safety. He cares about control.
The Attorney General of D.C. said he was exploring legal options. The D.C. mayor called the president's actions
unsettling and unprecedented,
while promising to work with the federal government to keep the city safe. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Here's a look at some other national headlines with your morning rush. The suspected gunman is in custody after a deadly shooting outside a Target store in Austin, Texas. Police say 3 people were killed. Another person was hurt just after 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The 32-year-old suspect allegedly stole a car, crashed it, then hijacked another car before he was arrested. Authorities in Texas say he has a history of mental health issues. A second person is reported dead after a steel plant explosion in Pennsylvania. It happened yesterday morning at a Coke manufacturing facility. At least 10 people went to the hospital. 5 of them have since been released. The cause of this explosion remains under investigation. 4 people, meanwhile, are okay this morning after a small plane crashed into a parked aircraft, causing that fire you see right there. This happened yesterday at a Montana airport. Investigators say the pilot of the plane lost control while trying to land and crashed onto the runway before hitting those other aircrafts. The pilot and passenger, though, were all able to get back out on their own. And that's a look at your morning rush.
It's like gold on the inside.
Call it a rundown piece of Portland history, but it's really not as bad as we thought. Now we need to take a look inside and talk about what it could be in the future. Coming up in our next half hour, inside the iconic Gordon's Fireplace building as it once again gets ready to go up for auction. Plus, experts weighing in on the latest round of tariffs, why they say new tariffs could cause your grocery bill to go up. Sunrise, streaming live at 7 o'clock, continues after this.
KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We're coming up on 7:29 on your Tuesday morning drive. Let's take it to Wilsonville. You're not alone if you're about to hit the road. There's the drive at Wilsonville Road, and this actually looks better than it did even 15 minutes ago. But let's go a little farther south. The slowing really hits you down around Art Road. Our traffic sensors indicate that speed is about 15 miles an hour to get you from there up over the Boone Bridge through the Charbonneau area. Once you do, you're actually in pretty good shape. Highway 26 inbound about 21 minutes from Hillsborough. Interstate 84 about 22 minutes from Troutdale west to the I-5 split. Rod?
Day 3 and the final day of our extreme heat warning. Temperatures today either running exactly where they have the last couple of days or more likely for many of you being a couple degrees cooler, but not to the point you'll really notice a difference. There's the state capitol. We've still got the Oregon Pioneer covered up on top of the buildings. They do some restorative work on the outside. 66 is the number there. Rose City camera, where are we at? We're at 69. 85 at noon with the heat warning in effect, and then 98 today's high. Here comes the cool off. 80s tomorrow, 70s Thursday. Actually, some rain on Friday and Saturday.
.30 half hour of the Sunrise Show, a live look at Mount Hood this morning by way of our sky cam out there in the Dalles. Beautiful start to the day. It always looks pretty, and then it gets really hot. At least that's been the case for the past few days. Rod Hill stepping in just a second here. But first, China Green, why don't you lead us off with a little hello?
Good morning. So yeah, today is day 3, but the last day of this heat.
Last day, 85 is the lunchtime projection, so, get things done if you don't like hot weather between now and then. Here's a look at where the cool-off actually starts. You folks at the beach, generally, your cool-down starts today. Now, you haven't been crazy hot or anything, but it has been in the 80s in scattered locations the last couple of days, especially up around Clatsop County, including Astoria. It is foggy in Newport. It's foggy in Lincoln City. This is Chinook's Casino Resort camera. It's foggy in Depot Bay, but it's clear once you get up near Tillamook and northward. 53 is the temperature outside. Much of the beach today will be no warmer than about 70 degrees. Here's the Rose City camera. We're off and running with another warm to hot day developing. 69 light winds. There's that 85 degrees at noon with the extreme heat warning from the Weather Service for, again, this third and final day. I have us at 98. Yesterday and Sunday, PDX stopped at 99. So, pretty much right where we've been. That's your forecast. Here's Chris.
Hey, Rod, thank you for that. Let's get you back to Southwest Portland again. The Vista Avenue Bridge closed now for bridge maintenance. PBOT is doing that each day this week between now and about 5 o'clock. That impacts about 11,000 drivers. There's a detour set up. Photojournalist Eric Patterson is on the scene. I'll step out of the way. There you can see the traffic cones set up as PBOT gets ready to do that bridge maintenance. Again, this is each day this week from 7 a.m. until as late as 5 p.m. All right, back to the drive right now. Northbound into Wilsonville. This is probably one of our slower stretches of Portland Freeway right now. Once you get up and over the Boone Bridge to Wilsonville Road, the speeds actually pick up a little bit. Switching gears, taking you over to the Banfield, Interstate 84 westbound out near 82nd Avenue. That's slow and go there. Right now you're driving from Troutdale about 24 minutes to get you to the I-5 split. Drew, China?
All right, thank you, Chris. Multnomah County leaders declared a state of emergency yesterday in response to this week's extreme heat. So that meant 3 cooling centers in the county stayed open until 9 o'clock last night.
But the county hasn't said yet if those centers will reopen later today. But other spaces like libraries and malls also offered extended hours on Monday to allow people to catch a break from the heat. We'll also be sure to update you on air and online at KGW.com if Multnomah County decides to open cooling centers today.
One local program is helping people beat the heat by providing free AC units. Cooling Portland is the name of the program. It's provided people in the area with more than 15,000 units. The program is possible thanks to the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefits Fund, which started after the heat dome that hit the area back in 2021. That's when we had that record 116-degree day here in Portland. 72 people suffered heat-related deaths in Multnomah County during the heat dome. Almost all of them died in their homes. So if you need an air conditioner, the easiest way to find out if you qualify is by calling 311. Sign-ups and installations happen year-round, so you can apply any time of the year.
And amid the heat, officials are reminding people to stay hydrated, out of the sun, check on their neighbors, and call 911 if they detect heat stroke. But they also say it's important to know what resources are available.
I do recommend that residents sign up for local alerts and safety tips at oralert.gov, and they can also reach out to 211info.org or call 211 for information on cooling shelters and community resources.
If you text the word heat to that number there on your screen, 503-226-5088, we'll text you back with a link to information on cooling centers, splash pads, and other local resources to help escape the heat.
All right, a weather story with a political twist. Washington's Attorney General is suing the Trump administration for cutting millions of dollars in climate change funding. Attorney General Nick Brown says the cuts strip away $9 million that was promised to programs protecting Washington's environment. The funding was awarded to 2 projects specifically, one aimed at training students for careers in climate resilience and another to protect coastal towns from flooding. State leaders say without this money, Washington's most vulnerable communities will be left to face these challenges alone.
Climate change is happening all around us. We want to make sure that we protect our land, that we protect our air, we protect our waters, and that is what this funding was intended to do.
This is actually the 35th time, the 35th lawsuit that Washington has filed against the Trump administration. Attorney General Brown says the state is pushing to get the funding reinstated, but there is no timeline for when that might happen.
Oregon Governor Tina Kotek says the state is set to lose $15 billion in federal funding as a result of cuts made by the Big Beautiful Bill. These funds cover things like Medicaid and food benefits, as well as funding for the I-5 Rose Quarter project. In a statement, Governor Kotek said in part, quote, "The Trump administration and Republicans in Congress have betrayed American children and families who will become sicker, hungrier, and less prosperous because of President Trump's budget bill." Republican lawmakers have defended the cuts, saying that they target waste and abuse in social safety net programs.
The old Gordon's Fireplace shop there in Northeast Portland is back on the auction block, and bidding for the building will start at $225,000.
So you've probably seen the graffiti-covered building along I-84 in Northeast Portland. But despite what it looks like on the outside, turns out the inside of the building paints a bit of a different picture. KGW's Kyla Boshi has the update.
The old Gordon's Fireplace shop in Northeast Portland is one of the city's biggest eyesores. It's a skeleton of a building that's become a magnet for graffiti. But go inside and you'll find the remnants of a historic structure with solid old-growth timber and sturdy post and beam supports. The bones of this building have stood the test of time.
When we first took this on, we thought this needs to be torn down, but as you walk it and see the history and how it could be salvaged, it is amazing. It's like gold on the inside.
Carl Grending of SVN Embry Realty hopes this historic building will find the right owner when it goes on the auction block on October 13th through 15th. Starting bid is $225,000.
Similar to eBay, there's a opening bid and you can bid up accordingly.
The building, originally constructed in 1918, was previously known as the Aircraft Factory, named for the aircraft that were once built on site. It later became a furniture store, then Gordon's Fireplace shop for more than 60 years. In 2016, Gordon's Fireplace closed its doors, and this old building hasn't been the same since, despite big plans for renovation.
Usually you can see Mount Hood out here.
The property, which overlooks Interstate 84, narrowly avoided being sold at a city foreclosure auction in September of last year, after a court-appointed receiver stepped in. Since then, there have been legal struggles and on and off plans to sell the property.
There's a lot of players involved. There's a lot of money at risk. And so, I think this is it. This is the one.
The building stands 3 stories tall and stretches over 25,000 square feet. They're big, bright, open spaces, ideal for a mix of residential and retail. Existing plans call for 19 apartments above and a coffee shop or gym below, giving this historic building new life. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
Hey, check out this view from the air of the Ross Island Lagoon, where the algae bloom has returned in full strength this year. The spot has been frequent blooms over the last 20 summers, fueled by dry and warm conditions. And the algae can be producing cyanotoxins right now, which can be dangerous to people, pets, and wildlife.
The key message at this point is that there is a lot of density in the lagoon. We have a couple hot days coming up. In 2023, this situation set up very similarly when it seemed stable in the Ross Island Lagoon in terms of the harmful algae bloom, and then a couple hot days, suddenly it just spilled over into the Willamette and caused a recreational advisory from Selwood to Kelly Point Park.
The Human Access Project, a nonprofit that works to improve access to the river, has partnered with Oregon State to come up with possible solutions to the bloom. They're working to design a flushing channel to improve water circulation in the stagnant lagoon where algae thrives.
KGW Weather Impact Alert Day. Rod Hill back in the Weather Center. So, Rod, what are you tracking for us this hour?
Well, let me ask you a question, softball question. I'm going to phrase it where I think you'll get the answer. Today will become the 14th day this summer of
90s.
Yes, very nice. China Green.
Someone's paying attention.
Put me on Jeopardy.
Nice. So far during this heat wave, it's the first real heat wave, meaning 3 days in a row. Portland has stopped at 99 PDX each day. But Salem so far has been 100 or better each day, going 101 and then 102 yesterday. McMinnville 101 yesterday. Troutdale hit 100, Hillsborough 98. Astoria 83, the coast, that was it for the 80-degree weather. You'll be closer to 70 degrees most areas for high temperatures, we think, this afternoon. Yesterday, again, in the valley, it was you folks in Salem with the leading number at 102. Here's the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center down in Oregon City. All the valley cameras simply show a clear sky. Morning, you can see the sun bouncing off of the Willamette River from our Wells Fargo camera. 69 is the early morning temperature. We have light winds. We have 60s and 70s on the board right now. 67 in Forest Grove, but 63 in Oregon City, 72 in West Linn. Albany's in the 60s, Kaiser 69, Silverton, good morning, 74 is where you stand right now. Ranger is our KGW dog of the day. Hello, Ranger, ears up there. Dog of the day at kgw.com is the address. Just send us your dog's photo and name, and your dog will become our dog of the day. So this is the final day, again, of the extreme heat warning, which includes the Willamette Valley, Clark County, the Gorge, and Central Oregon. The Dow's one of the spots at 5 o'clock showing up with a 100-degree temperature at 101. Cool down will be pretty rapid. 98 today for the Rose City, 83 tomorrow, 75 Thursday. We think at this point it's likely we have rain at times with measurable rainfall fairly widespread on Friday and on Saturday. The rain chance ends Saturday night, giving us a dry, becoming sunny 77 degrees Sunday. That's your update for now. Here's Chris.
Rod, thanks for that. We bring you back to that traffic alert in Southwest Portland. I'll step out of the way here. Photojournalist Eric Patterson on the scene live, checking out the Vista Ridge Bridge, a bridge which carries 11,000 cars and trucks a day in and out of Portland's West Hills. It was actually supposed to be closed at 7 o'clock. They've got construction cones up there, so we're waiting at some point for that closure to kick in. In any event, PBOT says that'll be closed for most of the day today and Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 7 to 5 as they do some needed bridge maintenance. There is a signed detour, so just be aware of that. Another closure to get you up to speed on in Hillsborough, Highway 219, also known as First Avenue here, closed near the Portland and Western Railroad crossing. They're doing some repairs to that railroad crossing, so this is around-the-clock full closure, and the detour here is a lengthy one. It takes you out TV Highway to Minter Bridge Road to Grable Road. Again, that is fully closed from yesterday through the end of the day on Friday. Back to your drive right now, I-5 from Clark County, slow and steady from SR 500. Right now, that drive in from Main Street to the Fremont Bridge, China, that is averaging about 24 minutes.
Thank you, Chris. New data shows.
The air quality index is now incorporated into so many different media. You can get it on your phone, they have it on the radio, and it's something that Oregonians need to be checking the same way they check the weather.
Yeah, new data shows the days with unhealthy air across Oregon surged after 2024 wildfires. We'll have the report after the break.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW+.
The Oregon Department of Environmental Quality has released a report looking at data from last year's wildfire season and how the smoke affected air quality across the state.
So here's a look at how the numbers all played out. Wildfire seasons, for starters, are trending longer than before, which means there are more days where the air quality is considered at least unhealthy for sensitive groups, if not worse. This chart we're going to show you next shows the 6 categories that Oregon uses to measure air quality. Unhealthy for sensitive groups is the one in orange. It means people with pre-existing conditions that impact the heart or lungs, people who are pregnant, or people who work outside need to be concerned and try to limit that time outside. Some notable hotspots for poor air quality during last year's wildfire season include Bend and Klamath Falls. Last year, Bend had 16 days where the air quality reached unhealthy for sensitive groups, or worse. Parts of the Willamette Valley, specifically the Oak Ridge area, had 11 of those days. Portland, though, never got to the unhealthy for sensitive groups level. Blair Best and our team at The Story did a deep dive into these numbers. You can watch that full report from Blair anytime right here on KGW+.
And today is a KGW Weather Impact Alert Day. And if you plan to drive in the heat, you'll want to be extra cautious. Experts recommend filling up your gas tank and trying to keep it about 3/4 full. Test your car battery to be sure it's up to par, has enough fluid in there. Also check your tire pressure to reduce the chances of a blowout. For every 10-degree temperature, change your tires or they'll, lose or gain air. And don't forget to pack an emergency travel kit in case of unexpected delays. Now, oftentimes, Drew and I talk about, we're like, God, we're telling people like the absolute obvious on
Right.
weather impact alert days. Like, we get it.
Yeah,
But when I hear these things, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to put the snacks in there and the water, and
Snacks,
I do
thank
it.
you. I was thinking
Snacks and
sandwich.
water. Same thing with winter. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to put a blanket in there because if something happened in my car and I was
Right.
stuck on the highway and like I had to turn off my car and it was freezing, or if it was too hot, I would be in bad shape.
Yeah, and you never know when you're all of a sudden something's going to happen and you're stranded for a while, which is what all those tips are for, basically.
I picture, though, when you're in the Rod Hill car, like you pop open the console to the side right there.
yeah.
I picture there's like a ham and cheese sandwich
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And then you pop open the glove compartment, there's a spare peanut butter and jelly right
Yeah.
there.
Yep. That's
yeah.
what I
All the good
see.
stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, makes me hungry. This is it, the final day of our extreme heat warning, the final day of what's going to go in the books as a three-day heat event. By the way, that story that Blair Best covered on air quality linked to longer wildfire seasons, it bears mentioning again that so far this has been the least active wildfire season in terms of sheer numbers that we have seen in a while. We haven't had any wildfire smoke here in Portland at all, really, this summer so far. Right now, basically wildfire free in terms of named large wildfires in our state. Now, we still have to get through this month. We still have to get through September. I will tell you, this looks to be the hottest weather we're going to have this August. Models show there might be another 1 to 2 days this month just getting up to 90. But you can have 90s in September too, so we got a ways to go. High pressure parked offshore. We're all clear inland. We have fog mainly down in Lincoln County along the coast this morning. Inland cameras are clear. Here's Salem, 66 degrees. Here's Portland, clear blue, 69. Winds are calm. Very similar temperature day to what we've had the last couple of days. 70 in the Dows right now, also 70 degrees over in Bend. Now, I mentioned today's the finale of the hot weather and the impact alert and the extreme heat warning, et cetera, et cetera. There's today, clear skies, a little bit of fog might toy with Uquinta Bay on and off throughout the day. This does show low clouds at the beach. Tomorrow morning shows a push of marine air coming up the Columbia River into the North Valley. That would be evidence that the heat is over and we're going to be getting back to normal. Temperatures doing well just to get up into the 80s tomorrow. Here is Thursday morning, cloudiness. The cool down continues. Here's Thursday late evening, rain coming into Astoria. Models love rain at times, measurable widespread rain on Friday, rain at times, measurable widespread rain on Saturday. Now, this far out, the model resolution isn't great, and that's why these numbers are often way bigger than what we actually end up seeing. But if you look at all the data, you come to a conclusion that right now we could have in Portland, Salem, and Vancouver, Friday, Saturday combo, at least a quarter of an inch, and maybe we get close to a half of an inch of rain, with over a half of an inch of rain expected at the coast. So this again would be kind of unusually wet for this time of the year. All right, for today. Salem, you've been 101, 102. Could you actually hold below 100 today? Model says 99. That model's been exactly right for you folks last couple of days, by the way. Battleground, Vancouver, stay in the upper 90s. Longview, 94. We've got 98, my projection for Portland. Again, 99 the last 2 days. You won't notice a difference. 83 tomorrow, 75 Thursday. Big difference. The rain of times on Friday and Saturday. And right now, Sunday looks to be dry. And that is your update. Chris, you tracking anything of importance?
Always. It's all important.
Well, of course
all the time. The good news is their drive is actually in pretty good shape out there. We've got our usual slow spots. I-5 right now from Clark County. The slow and go action starts around Main Street. It's 25 minutes right now to get you down to the Fremont Bridge. Here's a live look from Mill Plain. I mean, we're moving, but it's busy. We'll switch gears real quick and take over to the Glen Jackson Bridge. I-205 seems to be zipping right along as well, so no problems on that side of town. Down into Marion County, northbound I-5, getting out of the Donald Aurora area and then up through Clackamas County and Charbonneau. We've got some slowing there as well, but again, this is pretty normal stuff to get over the Boone Bridge. Once you do, the trip in from Wilsonville is not bad. It has ticked up a little bit in the last few minutes, but 32 minutes from Wilsonville to downtown, the current drive time. Drew?
Chris, I'm looking into the future, and it tells me that this is what we're covering next on Sunrise. In 2 minutes, experts weighing in on the president's new tariffs and how they could impact your grocery store bill. We'll have that story and other consumer headlines when Sunrise, streaming live at 7 o'clock, continues after this.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
Last week, President Donald Trump enacted a new wave of tariffs that experts say could drive up prices. In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan shows us what could cost you more at the grocery store.
The high cost of groceries is straining many people's wallets. A recent poll shows 53% of Americans say grocery costs were, quote, a major stress. Overall, food costs continue to rise.
Since, 2020, food prices are up about 25%.
Phil Lempert, known as the supermarket guru, says the rise in prices is not only causing consumers to pay more, but also impacting grocers and manufacturers.
We're seeing some manufacturers play that shrinkflation game where, they're taking smaller size packages, putting less ingredients in them, but charging the same thing or even more.
President Donald Trump's latest round of tariffs could drive up prices further. Some imports coming from Brazil will now face a 50% tariff. Lempert says that means higher prices for coffee, sugarcane, and meats. Aluminum goods from Canada are subject to a 35% tariff, which could mean higher costs for certain soda and canned goods.
This is a major escalation of tariffs. It's across the board, across the entire world.
Lydia DePillis covers the economy for the New York Times. The Trump administration said in July that tariffs have generated $150 billion in tax revenue, but DePillis says that's actually a small amount.
It is typically about 2% of federal income. That could rise to as much as 5%, but it is not going to replace large amounts of the federal government's tax and spending.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Also in the news this morning, President Trump says he's extending the deadline for China's tariff increase by another 90 days, stretching it out now to November 10th. The president signed an executive order yesterday to make this happen, just hours before the pause on China's tariffs was set to expire. Now, if the president had not extended the deadline, U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods would have grown to triple-digit rates.
Here's a look at some of your consumer headlines. The nation's largest private landlord, Greystar, has settled a price-fixing lawsuit with the federal government. Prosecutors say Greystar used RealPage software to illegally collude with other landlords, sharing pricing data and using algorithms to drive up rents. The company admits to no wrongdoing, but agreed to cooperate in a separate investigation into RealPage. A federal judge still needs to approve the deal. Ford investing $5 billion to roll out affordable electric vehicles. The plan will create or secure nearly 4,000 jobs in Kentucky and Michigan. The first model is a four-door midsize electric pickup and is set to launch in 2027 with a starting price of around $30,000. And Paramount is paying $7.7 billion for exclusive UFC media rights starting next year. 13 marquee events and 30 fight nights will stream on Paramount Plus, with some also airing on CBS. A 7-year deal shifts UFC away from its pay-per-view model. And coming up at 8 on KGW Plus, we're continuing to follow the latest on today's extreme heat warning. We'll have your full forecast and take a look at programs helping people in Portland stay cool.
Something a little different. No cruel summer for Taylor Swift fans. Yep, that's right. Taylor Swift says she has a new album coming out. The details on TS12 when the Sunrise Show continues right here on KGW Plus at 8 o'clock.